All right, it's time to learn how to draw digitally on our Chromebooks. You might want to have a mouse, but if not, you can still do it with just your fingers. But get ready, we're going to use Google Draw. First, you're going to go to your drive. From your drive, you're going to go to the plus sign where it says New, and you're going to scroll down to More. When you get to More, then you're going to see that option for Google Drawing. Click on that, and that's going to open up a brand new window of Google Drawing. Once you're in Google Drawing, it's important at the top that you type in your name, type in your first, last name, the hour, and pop can. Then scroll down and do the page setup. We want to make it a custom size of 9 by 12, and then apply. Again, if you're not sure about this, slow down on the tape so you can see. Now I'm going to insert a picture. I took a picture of my pop can. You can find one on the internet if you like. I'm inserting it, so I inserted my picture from the drive. I'm centering it on my 9 by 12 paper so that I can enlarge it. I'm enlarging it as big as possible so that I can see the lines and be able to use the curve tool. So I'm going to the curve tool. With a curve tool, you are making shapes. That means that those shapes have to start at a point A and go around the form and then come back to point A. When you get back to point A, then you're going to double click. When you double click, then that shape is going to turn into a flat color, and you'll see that you have the shape drawn. So I know that I want to start with the largest shapes and then work down. So you can see that I started with the ellipse on the top of the can. I'm now going to go in and I'm going to start making shapes. Again, the shapes have to start at point A and it has to come back to point A. Now, if when you get back to the point A and you double click, then that shape will connect. If you get a stray line at any time, sometimes it happens and you start wiggling and your line goes crazy, then just hit escape. Again, once you have created that, you can see right now that I have highlighted it. I'm double clicking on the dots and I can move those spots around. So say I didn't draw it exactly the way I want it, I can adjust it easily by clicking on it, opening up the vertices or the little dots. Now I went to the pale and I made the color transparent so that I can see through it, so I can keep drawing additional shapes. So again, you want to work from the largest shapes to the smallest shapes. If for some reason you're not sure what to do, go back to the select tool, that is the little arrow, find your circle tool, and as you can, pardon me, your curve tool. As you can see right now, I'm making the tab. I made the largest shape first. I'm making it transparent so that I can now draw the smaller shapes that are inside. When I get ready to, I will go back and fill in the gray colors, or they're actually, they have a little bit of a blue tint to them as well. So each time I make a shape, I'm using the curve tool and I'm starting at a point A, and I'm coming all the way back to point A, and then I'm double clicking. That will highlight the shape and you know that you will have made it. Again, this is like layering. You're layering pieces of tissue paper. So at any time when I start putting color in, I can move these shapes to the front. I can move them to the back. So you should have already done this before, where you click on an item and it says order, arrange, and you arrange it however it needs to be. All right, so now I'm working on the inside curves. You'll notice that I'm doing the left side shape. Again, once it highlights in that light blue, you know that you have a nice shape. If I double click on it, then I get the little dot vertices that I can adjust further. So right now I'm just working on the top of the pop can and I'm trying to get as much detail as possible. Where I see highlights, I want to make individual shapes. Where I see the shadows, like right now I'm working on the darker shadows in the tab, I want to make shapes. At any time I can go back and adjust this, or I can go back and I can delete the shape and make a new shape. So again, this is a new venture. Some of you guys have never done digital before, so it's going to take some practice. This is not something that you can just do in an hour. This is going to take you 2 or 3 hours. So watch the example that I'm doing right now. I'm going to speed it up, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to start putting in the color. Okay, so it's time to start adding in some color. When you select it, you go to the fill, and then I'm using a lot of custom colors, so I'm clicking on the plus button, and then I am going and trying to find it. If it's not the color I want, I'm going back and I'm hitting transparent so I can kind of look at the value again. Again, if the shape is a little misshapen, you can double click on it, which will activate those little dots, those little vertices, and then you can move those vertices around. The other thing I just did is I took the front lip and I brought it to the front, so the little white piece went to the back. The values, again, you're not gonna capture all the values unless you really want to go in and draw the little shapes. So the best advice is do the largest things first, and then I'm going to show you how you can move the picture over and start to add more on top, because you're going to have to be looking for colors. I went to the blues and tried to get more of a gray color with a blue tone. The pop can has violet in it as well, so that might be something that you play around with. It's not going to be just your black, white, and gray, because there are different values. So you can see here that I'm testing it and trying to get it so that it doesn't blend in to the darker value or the lighter value that it's sitting next to. So again, when I'm checking it, I'm going back to the fill bucket and I'm hitting transparent so I can see that color and try to get it closer to what it is. Then I am making the outline transparent. So right there, I went to the line, the pencil, and I went to transparent, and that takes away the outline. So one of the things you want to start doing is taking away the outline as you add the color, and then that way your values are going to merge together. So again, I'm going to speed this up a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm doing, and then I'll show you how to move the picture to the side. All right, now I'm at the point where I'm trying to get the tab the right color, but when I go to transparent, I've already covered the layer, so I can't really see underneath it. So I'm going to move the picture to the right so that I can see the values, and that way I can put more values into the top. So I went back to view, I went back to fit, which is the actual size I started with. I'm moving the photo to the right so I can see my digital drawing, and now I can start working on the top. Uh, Again, this is where you as the artist, you have to look at the value and you have to decide which one's closest. What you're trying to do is your digital drawing should look three-dimensional. I mean, it's not going to be perfect the first time, especially if you've never done this before. But you'll notice that even for me, I mean, I don't do this every day either. So I'm having to go back and try this and try that, and obviously, what I'm noticing right now is that I don't have enough darker values to compensate or contrast with the lighter values. So that's what I'm doing right now is I'm going in there and I'm drawing in some of the smaller shapes, and that way I can create that darker value too. Now, you have the ability to zoom in on this really, really tight. So that's what I'm doing. I'm zooming in so that I can really see where I'm working. And if you're not doing this, then it's a disadvantage because it's really hard to work in that small tab area. And it's the same if we were doing traditional drawing. You would have to be using a blending stump or something small that you could get into those crevices. So right now I'm trying to redraw a couple areas so that I can get a little darker value to contrast where the hole is and make it actually look like it's going inside. I feel like that the rim, the front and the back rim look pretty good. I could clean it up a little bit, which I may do that later. But right now, I'm just trying to show you the mechanics of how to get started. Because, like I said, this is going to take a little while. So, again, I'm going to speed this up for a little bit and then I'll come back. Okay, so I have this small area that I'm working on, and you can see that I'm struggling with it. I'm having trouble with drawing the shape, even though it is in large sum. I can't seem to get point A to connect with point B. So, one of the things that as I'm messing with the color and I'm trying to figure it out, I finally got a smart idea and I thought, you know what? Why don't I just enlarge this a lot bigger? So it's like taking a magnifying glass. When you have an area that you really can't see, then you need to magnify it many, many times so that it's very easy to draw that. So you can see right here, I've magnified it. Now I can see where point A is starting, and then I'm making my arch shape and I'm coming around and then I'm connecting it back. And so then I'm able to fill that shape in, and I take away the outline, and when I pull it back, I've got a pretty good rendition. All right, as you can see, I'm trying to put the image back underneath my digital so I can continue working on the body of the pop can. Guys, sometimes you can't see the line well enough. You need to enlarge, and sometimes you're going to do it more than once. I mean, there's several times I've had to hit Control Z, which is undo, and try it again. So keep working at it. So I found the shape of the can, or I'm trying to find the shape of the can, so that I can then go in, make it transparent, and then start working on the lettering. So I'm going in now and I'm making the shapes. Remember, to make a shape, you start with a point A and you have to end at point A. And then if you want to see through it, then you just go to the fill bucket and you go to transparent. Right now, the lettering is kind of a light gray, so the color that is filling in actually is working pretty well. Again, this is like layering tissue paper over tissue paper. So I did the largest shape first, which was the entire A, and then I went back in and put in the center shape. So you can make multiple shapes. You can make shapes for highlights, shapes for shadows. I'll continue to add more shadows to this to make it more three-dimensional. But you can see I'm playing with the colors. I'm looking for the violets. Again, you can move shapes forward and backwards just by changing the order. So if you click on order and you send to the back or you send to the front, then that will make that lip look like it's overlapping. So here's where I am currently. I'm going to continue working on mine. You need to start yours and start working on your digital pop can. Again, you can take a photo of a pop can if you have one. If you don't, then get a photo off the internet and let's get started. So, one thing I kept discovering as I was working on this is that I could start going in and using gradients and customizing and getting more colors to change. You'll notice that I'm clicking on different colors. When I push the add button, that allows me to put another layer into the gradient. And by doing this, I was able to put more color changes. So you can see each time I'm trying to look and see the good combinations. This is one of those things you have to just play around with. I didn't know exactly what I wanted, but as I was working on it, I started noticing more and more things. Now, one of the things I started to notice is that there was a couple of areas where my shapes didn't meet. So I'm going in now, and this is the thing. You go back, and it's like drawing. You're going back in and you're adding details, and some things you're cleaning up, and some things you're fixing. This would be more of an area where I'm cleaning it up. But I also know that now that I've started using the gradients, I can create more values on the top of the lip. And that's going to be the same thing when I'm drawing it in a traditional manner, too. So you can see here, I'm looking at the different gradients, and then remember that you want to take off the outline. So once you've drawn the shape and you've filled it in, then you want to go to the border tool and you want to take the border off so that it looks more natural. The other thing is, remember that you can take the vortexes. When you double click on it, it activates those little dots, and you can move those dots around. So you can make it look smoother, you can make it look thicker, but again, it's you're tweaking it. So it's just like drawing, but you're doing it digitally. The background can be whatever you want.